Rivian has just shared their Q1 2025 numbers for vehicles produced and vehicles delivered. Let's take a look. Hey everyone, Jose here from Rivian Tracker, excited to bring you this news of Q1 results for Rivian. Not earnings or any of that, not just yet. That's going to be later in May when we find out all those details. But Rivian has shared with us the number of vehicles they've produced as well as delivered in the Q1 2025 here, the first 3 months of the year. So let's go ahead and take a look. As shared here on RivianTracker.com, the great source of Rivian information, Rivian has gone ahead and delivered 8,640 vehicles while producing 14,611 vehicles between the months of January and February of this year. These numbers are pretty much in line with what Rivian guidance told us last year. Claire, the chief financial officer of Rivian, shared last year that they expected numbers to actually be flat to a little bit lower this year, comparably to 2024, with setting up a guidance of between 46,000 and 51,000 vehicles, as compared to 2024 when they delivered 57,000 vehicles. As a reminder, something that's going to be happening here a little bit later this year, Rivian does plan to close their factory down to retune for R2, which is expected to start production here later this year into early 2026. So that's just something that we need to take into consideration. So while deliveries were down year over year, which comparably, when we look at Q1 of 2024 here, we see that Rivian had delivered 13,588 vehicles. Rivian actually ended up producing more vehicles this quarter of, or I should say Q1 of 2025. Again, in preparation for the shutdown that's expected later this year, Rivian is trying to get inventory into place so that they can be prepared for should there be interest and demand on R1T and R1S. Now, here we have this chart that I've created that kind of looks back all the way to Q1 of 2022 when Rivian started reporting vehicles delivered and produced. And you can kind of see here in the orange line the deliveries, and then in the red line the production numbers. So you can kind of see here where we're at right now with 8,640 deliveries and then 14,611 vehicles produced. So as you can see, production is going up. Obviously, Q4 of 2023 was kind of the peak in terms of production, where they delivered produced 17,500 vehicles. And of course, the highest delivery to date was Q3 of 2023, where they delivered 15,564 vehicles. Obviously, we look at this history here, we can see that Q4 of 2024 was really good, but it definitely looks like demand has dropped substantially. Now, this could be for a lot of reasons, and honestly, we have to really look at the political climate to determine this. In general, most EV manufacturers out there have either seen a flat or slight decline in their EV sales. Q1 is also typically a pretty slow quarter for vehicle production and deliveries. If you look here, we can look back at Q1 of 2024, we delivered 13,000 vehicles. Of Q1 of 2023, 7,900. So you can kind of see that the trend is obviously going upward, but we're kind of plateaued right now with deliveries. Now, like I said, there's a variety of things. I mentioned the political climate, but also the reality is Rivian right now doesn't really have a lot of good incentives going on in terms of vehicles. You look at leasing opportunities, and in the last month, Rivian offered a really nice $599 lease deal on the standard vehicles, on the R1 standard. But even with that, it still required a substantial amount of money down, and a lot of people don't want to put a lot of money down towards a lease, which is completely understandable. What Rivian has now going on is something we talked about just earlier this week, which they launched a new $10,500 incentive discount. Now, that's kind of a catch-20 there because or a catch-22, I should say, because really what they're giving you is an additional $3,000 because they're including the tax credit in there, the EV lease credit of $7,500. So really, you're only getting $3,000 off leasing a vehicle there. Which, when you compare to the previous all-electric upgrade offer, which gave you up to $6,000 on tri-motor max pack vehicles, it's kind of not that great when you really think about this incentive deal. So really, right now, Rivian has very weak incentives going into play, and maybe we'll see those get better as this second quarter progresses. It's kind of a balance where you have to be able to not only make revenue, produce revenue, but you want to get your vehicles out there. And so, but without losing more money than you probably already are, right? So that's something to play in a factor. And at the end of the day, really, it's up to Rivian to make the decision on what best incentive deals there are. Will they bring back something like the friends and family discount where they did last year, which was really cool, and we got a lot of vehicles out there. I know a lot of people reached out to me. I was able to get a lot of vehicles on the road thanks to that friends and family discount. So really, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to keep an eye out. And of course, there's the ultimate question of when is the Gen 2 quad going to launch and what does demand for that look like? We're talking about a $110,000 plus vehicle. What does demand look like for a halo car of that type? I spoke to a lot of people on social media after making this post on the website, and the general consensus is, hey, it's hard because you're selling vehicles at $85,000+, and you have people maybe cross shopping different vehicles like an EV9, maybe even a Model Y if you try hard, definitely like a Model X. And so like Rivian is up there, but they're not really providing good incentives right now to to incentivize you really to move over and swap over to Rivian. So we'll see what happens as we progress into Q2 here. But if we do take a look at these numbers just as they are, what is presented to us in front of us, and based on the guidance that Rivian provided last year, this kind of really aligns. It's not a negative. It's pretty much a neutral. In fact, if anything, they really delivered a few more vehicles and then produced substantially more vehicles than they probably had anticipated, which again is leading into the shutdown that will happen in the factory later in 2025. So I wanted to share that information with you guys, get it out there. I hope this video helped a little bit. Tell me what your thoughts are. Do you think Rivian is on track to be able to deliver, 47,000 to 51,000 vehicles this year? They definitely have to work the next 3 quarters really hard to get a good amount of vehicles out there to be able to meet that, that guidance that they're expecting. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like this type of content, let me know. Are you enjoying these little small videos with like news? I want to know if this is something I should keep doing. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care and stay adventurous. Bye, guys.